What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs, and today I'm going to show you how to make this.
Dreadlabs.
Alright, so I made this in Cinema 4D and After Effects, and to start out we're going to start in Cinema 4D real quick. So the setup of Cinema 4D is actually pretty basic. I'm actually not even using an external renderer like Octane or something. I am just using a normal setup file here, so I can click this Octane window away. Alright, so basically what's happening here is I'll just play it from like a distance. It's a rotating head with some lighting, and the camera is basically moving around. So looking into the camera, it basically looks like this. So yeah, nothing too special going on really. This head, I got this from I think Turbo Squid or something. There's a lot of free head models out there. So I highly suggest you go and search for one if you want to use a head model. Of course you can use any model that you like. I'm just going to press Alt and R on my keyboard to bring up the quick render region. And apparently this is not really like viewing correctly, so I'll just use the preview. So looking at this, as you can see, we basically use two lights, and those are just light 1 and light 2 here. Basically getting it from two different sides, one from the front and one from the back if we look at the top here. And this is kind of important because you want to have the back part lit up and the front part as well. Then in the render settings, so you have to animate the camera. Basically I just use some keyframes. So I'm just going to move this window up a little bit, remove the Octane node editor from the window because we don't really need that. Anyways, with the camera selected, we're going to go to coordinates. And as you can see, I just put a simple keyframe animation here of the Z position of the camera. Nothing too special really. Anyways, then on the head, I just used a glossy material, and now that I look at it, I even made a big mistake because this is a glossy material from Octane and I'm not even using the Octane renderer. So yeah, that's how simple this is. You don't really need anything fancy. So I'm just gonna go with the standard renderer here. See what that will look like. Yeah, a little bit overlit there. Anyways, what you kind of need is, I'll show you the final result in After Effects real quick. So basically what you want to end up with is just a black and white loop of a rotating head like this. And as you can see, this is probably one of the most basic renders that you can find, with just a white glossy material so that the light reflects nicely. And I think that's all there is to say really. So yeah, I'm just gonna go talk about all the effects that I use in After Effects on this one, because it's fairly easy actually, fairly simple. So the first thing I did was basically import the frames. As you can see in my folder here, I basically rendered out 239 different frames of the head in PNG format so that it will be transparent with a transparent background. And I just basically imported this as a PNG sequence. I made it 8 seconds long. So yeah, the first part we're going to do is, as you look at the effect controls here, I added a curves channel to basically increase the contrast, making the darker parts darker and the lighter parts lighter. As you can see, this is the curves that I made. It doesn't really have to do this specific. Yeah, if you just add more contrast, it's fine, honestly. And the next thing we did was add a toner. And a toner is basically the same thing as a gradient map in Photoshop. So if you turn this on, as you can see, I picked like these super bright colors to get that like kind of a heat map effect. Basically turning the highlights to red, the brights to yellow, the midtones to green, the darker tones to like a cyan blue, and the shadows to a darker blue. And this leaves you with this animation, which also already looks pretty cool, I must say. But yeah, the most important part is basically the echo effector, I think. As you can already see, yeah, the echo does so much in this. If you go to effects and presets and search for echo here, put it in a separate adjustment layer on the top of your sequence here. Right, so looking at the echo settings, the echo time is minus 0.1 second. We get 30 echoes, a starting intensity of 1 and no decay, or yeah, we keep the decay at 1. You can play around with this if you want to. The most important part is that you use the composite in front method here, because if we do this in the back, you can kind of see that the echo starts doing this weird stuff, and we want to have the first responding head to be in the front. And like I said, in the DK, if we lower this to, for example, 0.8, you can see that the heads start fading out a little bit. So if this is something that you want to accomplish, I would say go for it. I actually prefer mine to be like just a 1. But yeah, anyways, what the echo is doing is basically duplicating the sequence over and over again 30 times. So if we lower this to 10, as you can see, we only have 10 heads here. And this is basically how far apart these will be. So if I press minus 0.2, as you can see, the distance is a little bit bigger, and that basically just means that the next echo will basically respond a little bit slower than the other one. If you make this into a positive, the echoes will actually act in front of the normal sequence. As you can see, kind of odd. So yeah, you want to have this at minus point something. I think I had minus 0.1, and this gives you that super, yeah, I guess they will respond super quickly now, which kind of looks like it's, I don't know, echoing or like glitching or something like that. And then one other thing is I just add a simple Gaussian blur to, you know, blur this out, smoothen it out a little bit, especially when the echoes is a little bit sharp, and yeah, we kind of really want to lower the quality of this. So the next part we're gonna do is a glow and signal. So we added another adjustment layer, and as you can see, this is where the actual like VHS old school magic happens. And this is done with a signal plugin. I'll get into that in a second. So the first thing we did is add a glow, as you can see. So we put the glow threshold at 45%, the glow radius is 75, and the glow intensity at 0.5. And I think all of these settings are just the same. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it was just these 3 settings that I played around with. So now the VHS effect, this is a plugin called Signal. I'll put a link up in the description to get it. It's $39, but it's so cool, especially if you're doing a lot of motion design and stuff like that. I would highly recommend you get this plugin. And as you can see, sadly, what happens with the Signal plugin is that you cannot real-time render anymore. As you can see, it goes a little bit slower. So I just want to go over some effects here. Basically, this distorts your videos or whatever you're going to use and makes it look like it's from an old VHS tape. I actually have no clue about like what the actual settings do. I just played around with them, experimented with them, and you know, looked at what I liked and what I wanted. And I came up with these settings. So yeah, you can just pause this video and copy the settings if you would like. So the next thing I did was basically I just pre-comped all of this, and you can see that here. This is the final visual. As you can see, this is the pre-comp here that we just went over. So then in the background, we have something else going on. I'll just put all the signal here. All right, I'll explain this a little bit because this is just a subtle background, but I really liked how it matched with the rest of the visual. So yeah, first we have a black background, nothing going on here, no effects or anything. And then we basically had another solid. This solid, I made it like a super dark purple, bluish. Let me go to the effect controls here. As you can see, just a simple solid. The one thing I did was I put a transform effect on it, so you can just find that here. And instead of like scaling it or anything, I just skewed it, as you can see here. And the skew is at 30, as you can see here. You can also rotate this if you like, and I'm pretty much fine with this one. And the next thing I want to do is pixelate this a little bit. So if we click on the mosaic here, it's also findable under effects and presets. This basically pixelates this so that the diagonal lines will be blocky. You know, give that like old school effect a little bit. And finally, lastly, I just went with another signal adjustment layer here. As you can see, if we up this. So there is one thing that I did here to animate this, because as you can, if we play this, you can see that it moves down. And the way that I did this is if you use the signal plugin here, you can go to TV distortion and the roll speed. I just put this at 10, and this basically makes it so that the screen like kind of flips and gets pulled downward, as you can see in old TVs usually. You know, if we play this right now, you can kind of see what's happening here. So yeah, let's just take one more look at it. I'll just take the render video because it's kind of hard to load it in After Effects right now. But yeah, as you can see in the background, we get that subtle like rolling effect. Yeah, super happy with how this turned out. And a lot of you guys asked me for this on Instagram to show you how I made this. So yeah, that's a quick project breakdown here. I hope this was useful. If you want to get the project file for this, you can get it through my Patreon. So if you don't know what my Patreon is, basically this way you can support the channel so I can make more tutorials, And if you become a patron, you'll get access to all of the project files from all of my tutorials, a 15% discount in Dreadlabs web store, and an exclusive Discord role. If you go 1 tier up, you'll also get access to the Starting a Clothing Brand series, where I have full videos on how to start a streetwear brand from scratch. This also comes with a couple of project files that are exclusive to that tier, so if you're interested in that, I would suggest you go 1 tier up in my Patreon. So yeah, big shout out to my Patreons. If you want to become one, there's a link in the description. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or you can join us on Discord. And with all of that being said, this was Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.